May peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. My name is Dr. Mamoon Rashid. I'll be the State Secretary for tonight. I welcome you all to our 12th annual Peace Symposium. And I know it was a busy Mother's Day today, so it's great to see a lot of you coming here to make this program a success. So let us start, which is our tradition, by the recitation from the Holy Quran. So I'll ask Dr. Hassan to come and present a few verses from the Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنما مثل الحياة الدنيا كماء إن أنزلناه من السماء فاختلط به نبات الأرض مما يأكل الناس والأنعام حتى إذا أخذت الأرض زخرفها وزينت وظن أهلها أنهم قادرون عليها أتاها أمرنا ليلا أو نهارا فجعلناها حصيدا كأن لم تغن بالأمس كذلك نفصل الآيات لقوم يتفكرون والله يدعو إلى دار السلام ويهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم للذين أحسنوا الحسنى وزيادة ولا يرحق وجوههم قتر ولا ذلة أولئك أصحاب الجنة هم فيها خالدون.
Now I'll invite Mr. Alan Nevin to present the translation of the verses.
As you've heard, Quranic Arabic is a very musical language. And for those of you who are native Irish speakers, I'm sure you can identify with some of the nasal and guttural sounds of the language, which are very familiar to our ears. It's customary to begin any undertaking in Islam with the words Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, which loosely translated means in the name of Allah, or God, the gracious and the merciful. You've heard how musical Arabic is, but it's also a very complex language with tremendous shades of meaning. And that first sentence I gave you there, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the copy of the Quran with commentary that I'm holding, there's 2 pages devoted to that one sentence. Professor Lane, who spent much of his life composing a dictionary, which is hugely regarded, sometimes spends 2 pages on one single word. So when I read the translation for you now of what has been so beautifully sung and recited, I'd like you to expand your mind to take in the meaning in its fullest possible sense. The likeness of the present life is only as water, which we send down from the clouds. Then there mingles with it the produce of the earth, of which men and cattle eat, till when the earth takes on its ornament and looks beautiful, and its owners think that they have full power over it. There comes to it our command by night or by day, and we render it like a mown down field, as if nothing had existed there the day before. Thus do we expound the signs for a people who reflect. And Allah calls to the abode of peace and guides whom He pleases to the straight path. For those who do good deeds, there shall be the best reward and yet more blessings. And neither darkness nor ignominy shall cover their faces. It is these who are the inmates of heaven, and therein shall they abide.
Thank you very much, Alan, for this beautiful poetic translation. Now, I'd like to invite Yusuf Pender to introduce our community and the various activities we do. Yusuf.
Assalamu alaikum. Today I would like to introduce you to our community, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. In the first part of this presentation, I'd like to give you an idea of who we are, what we believe, and what we stand for. And in the second part, I'm going to focus on our community and its Irish roots. In the third part, I would like to highlight our efforts to promote peace, harmony, and brotherhood in the society in which we live. Nearly 130 years ago, in 1889, our community was established by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad in Qadian, a small remote village in India. He claimed on the basis of divine revelation to be the awaited promised Messiah and reformer of the latter days, the very one awaited by the world's major religions. We believe that he came to reform the Muslim world, to bring an end to religious wars, and to reinstitute morality, justice, and peace. Based upon Quranic teachings, he promoted the separation of religion and state, and also taught us to be loyal citizens to the nation in which we live. After his demise in 1908, and under divine guidance, successorship or caliphate was established in order to carry on his mission and to reform the Muslim world and the world at large. Elected in 2003, today our community is led by His Holiness Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, who is the 5th successor of the promised Messiah. Our core values are loyalty, freedom, equality, respect, and peace. Our motto, as you can see, is love for all and hatred for none, which was given to us by the 3rd successor, and it reflects in a nutshell the true teachings and the true message of Islam. I'm now going to talk about specifically our community in Ireland and our efforts to integrate ourselves in the best possible manner. The roots of our community go back to 1928, when Miss Catherine Dunn became the first Irish Ahmadi Muslim, Ahmadi Muslim convert. Our members have been in Ireland, living in Ireland since the 1970s, and officially we have been registered as a religious charity since 1992. It is also an honour for us that the first Irish Imam appointed as missionary in charge of Ireland since 2003 is an Irishman, Ibrahim Ahmed Noonan, the Imam of Galway Mosque. Despite limited resources, we have been holding peace symposiums and interfaith meetings for over a decade. These, as you can see, are some impressions of the events which we've been holding in Ireland, in fact, over the last year, and have been very well attended by members of the Parliament, mayors, and representatives of different faith groups. In order to meet the different needs of our different age groups, the third Caliph introduced auxiliary organisations. These are divided by different age groups, both for men and women. Currently, our youth organisation is led by Dr. Hassan Ahmed, who is constantly engaging our youth throughout the country in order to look after their spiritual and moral needs. This, as you're seeing here, was our national function, which was held over 3 days and was attended by over 100 members of our youth organisation. Here's an example of some of the aid and charity work which we do. Here, members of our youth group went to Athlone approximately about maybe 18 months ago during the very bad flooding to work with local authorities to provide manpower to help prevent further flooding. Another event which our youth organised was in coordination with the Northern Ireland Blood Transfusion Service, which was attended by many reputable charities, in which more than 114 units of blood were collected and donated to the NHS. Furthermore, the drive successfully recruited over 750 new blood donors. And these are also impressions of a charity walk we did in Dublin, organised by our youth organisation, which was well attended by members from all over Ireland. As a result, this previous year, we were able to raise €4,000 for the National Children's Hospital in Tallaght. Coming to the activities of our ladies also hold regular functions. Here you can see a poster of a recent event, which is an Asian cultural festival organised by our ladies. Today, our members continue to reach out proactively to people to remove misconceptions about Islam. This is also being done through a national campaign of distributing leaflets door to door and holding information stands. Here you can see the layout of the latest flyer which is being distributed. I'm going to conclude the presentation to highlight the extraordinary work of His Holiness Hazrat Khalifatul Masih V, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, to promote world peace.
Persecuted for your beliefs, jailed for your faith, and exiled from your homeland, but you refuse to turn to bitterness or vengeance. Instead, His Holiness has emerged as a leader of wisdom and compassion, a champion of nonviolence among nations.
No society can truly succeed unless it guarantees the rights of all of its peoples. including religious minorities, whether they're Ahmadiyya Muslims in Pakistan, or Baha'i in Iran, or Coptic Christians in Egypt.
I would like very much to confirm my support for the work that His Holiness and the Ahmadiyya Muslim community are doing, particularly in London.
Even I didn't know when I was elected, then my name even will be proposed. The election is the same as the Pope is elected, but without smoke.
I know you are a regular visitor and speaker to parliaments and assemblies around the world, whether it's the US Congress or the European Parliament.
Let it be clear that I am not speaking in support or favor of any particular individual country. What I wish to say is that all forms of cruelty, wherever they exist, must be eradicated and stopped, regardless of whether they are perpetrated by the people of Palestine, the people of Israel, or the people of any other country.
In this we are allied with His Holiness, a courageous champion of religious freedom and of peace.
I'm very glad that the movement like yours will do something to correct this image. Islam means peace.
I should thank Your Holiness for your highly enlightened sermon, not only for the Ahmadis, but I would say for all mankind.
Love for all and hatred for none. And this message not only for Muslims, but for everybody.
You are a man, though of humble beginnings, your leadership has made you a figure of global prominence, and you have become a guide for millions of Muslims worldwide.
So, can you hear me at the back? Can you hear me at the back? Just a correction for the presentation. During the presentation, Yusuf Saab said that we raised €4,000 last year. Actually, that was the year before. Last year we raised €10,000, and again this year we're able to raise another 10,000 in aid of different charities around Ireland. And this year, in fact, we raised 4,000 just for Cree, the Heart Foundation in here in Galway, a local charity, and then we gave some to cancer research as well. So now, formally begin the evening. I'd like to request our very distinguished guest, who has been a regular speaker at many of our annual conferences. I don't think he needs any introduction, and I have been every year introducing him with all his long list of jobs that he's had in the government and the local government and as a TD, as a councillor. But rather today, to introduce him through his CV, I'm going to introduce him simply as a friend and a very dear friend of our community, who's always, I feel he's been a champion of peace with us, and he's been very helpful to the members of the community. And he's visited our annual gathering in London a couple of times now at this stage, and he's met His Holiness. And I feel that as politicians he's a genuine human being and a very kind person as a person. So with these words, to introduce him not as a politician, but just as a very, very good and decent human being and a very kind friend, I'll invite Mr. Eamon O'Keefe.
To Dr. Anwar, Anwar Malik, Imam Noonan, Bishop Drennan, and Mamoon, my very good friend. Can I say that I'm delighted to be here, and I would like to thank you for the invitation to me and to my wife Anya to attend here today. And it's many years ago, it was down in the G Hotel that I was first invited to one of these events. And I suppose a number of things struck me at the time. One was the motto, love for all and hatred for none. Also the interfaith nature of the event that I was asked to attend, and the good nature and seriousness with which you live by what you believe. I have, as you said, Mamoon, visited London twice for the annual large gathering that takes place there with His Holiness present. And I know as a community you have suffered persecution in many countries, but particularly in Pakistan. And I know today that the theme for today is building bridges for peace and integration. And if you forgive me today, I'm going to talk about some work I have been doing over a long number of years in that regard. Because I think we all face huge challenges. I think forgiveness is one of the hardest things to do. And to show no resentment is very, very difficult. Back in 1987, there was a bomb exploded in Enniskillen, just north of the border, at a commemoration of the First World War. And Gordon Wilson and his daughter Mary had attended that event, and she died in the bombing. And I suppose if we look in our present time to somebody who was really tested in their faith, a Methodist, in his reaction to that horrendous event, where he literally was holding her hand while her life ebbed away. And his reaction was to try to see and meet the IRA, to try to understand them, and try to see how we move forward away from violence. And I always believed that that was a seminal moment that moved us away from a society that had been riven by violence for many generations, and where the vast majority of people decided that whatever political differences are on this island, we should go forward in peace. I became a senator in 1989 and subsequently a TD, and at that time the peace process had started. And I started visiting prisoners. First of all, IRA prisoners in Britain, but subsequently in Northern Ireland. And people often say, why see the prisoners? And my answer is that they were the ones that had been involved in the violence, and if they turned away, you could create peace, but without them, you wouldn't. You all know what happened. The Good Friday Agreement was signed in 1998. But as you all know, a small number of followers of the IRA decided to pursue the road of violence. And they too wound up in prison. So when I left government in 2011, by chance more than by design, and so many things in our life are by chance more than design, I wound up visiting the prisons. There were difficulties and communal difficulties within the prisons, because particularly in the north, the prison officers and the prisoners come from different communities. For 5 years, I and a number of other TDs have visited the prisoners in prison. We've also visited loyalist prisoners who come from the other community in Northern Ireland. And a lot of work has gone in. A lot of persuasion has gone in. But the road all the time is to persuade people that there's a better way forward. That nobody's asking them to change their political beliefs, but we're asking them to change the methods. Again, by chance, and it's way too long a story to go into, in more recent times I've been visiting Portlaoise prison, and I have to record that I've been given enormous support in this work by the authorities from government level downwards. And it was, I suppose, an important personal milestone in my life when on the 24th of January this year, one of the groups declared a cessation of violence and their intention to pursue political means. And ongoing discussions are taking place, how we move forward with other groups. And in all of this, so many people have inspired me. I've been inspired initially by Gordon Wilson, who put out the hand of friendship to those who had killed his daughter, which was a very, very difficult thing to do. But I've also been inspired by your community and your steadfastness in saying love for all. And I believe the people who've engaged with this work have done more to end violence than any security force will ever do. Because persuasion has to be the way of the future. And that means visiting anybody who's willing to talk, befriending anybody who's willing to sit down and discuss issues. And therefore, when we talk about building bridges for peace, as I said many, many years ago in relation to Northern Ireland, if you were talking to the middle ground, there was no need to talk to them because they were not involved in violence. But what you had to do was to reach out to those who were involved in violence, not in retaliation, but to try find another way forward, to try understand where they're coming from, and then persuade them that peaceful means will inevitably triumph over violence, and that political objectives are better pursued that way. So I'd like to record here my admiration for everything you stand for the work you've done in building bridges, of integrating yourself into the various societies in which you work and live, for the charity you have shown, for the hospitality you have shown, for the openness you have shown to us. And I'm delighted to be here once again to share this occasion with you, with a very distinguished platform, and to wish you all the best in your endeavours, and to hope that you do understand that I use your community as an example of a community that always reaches out and never retaliates. Good mille mille mahagwe.
Thank you, Eamon. As always, it's a pleasure to have you and to have you address us with your kind words. Our next speaker is the retired Bishop of Galway, and he's asked me to simply introduce him as the retired Bishop of Galway, Bishop Brennan. He's a very humble man, and he's been with us once before when His Holiness came, and I'd like to all you to welcome him to say a few words.
Good evening, my friends. One of my own teachers would call this unrehearsed spontaneity. I wasn't asked to prepare a talk, so just a few words. The great Gandhi, the great man of peace in India, said that every friendship is a building block for peace. So our friendship today from different faith communities is a stride towards peace in the world. And that peace, is very fragile. As you know better than I do, violence is a sign of loss of hope. And anything we do together to promote hope in the world will also promote peace. I think a conference like this that's making a serious effort to understand the needs of the world, how to promote peace in that world, is a sign of hope. I believe that working together as different faith communities is also a sign of hope. So I thank you for your invitation to be here this evening. I'm delighted to take part in this event because I believe it is building another building block for peace in the world. If we do that, then our gift is a gift in the world of today. So thank you for what you're doing to build peace in the world, and thank you for your invitation. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
And thank you, Bishop Brennan, for your kind words. Our next speaker is the keynote speaker for the evening. You've heard before that our community has the only Irish imam in Ireland at the moment. Imam Ibrahim was born in Waterford City, often spending many weeks and months helping with the relief work. He has served as missionary in UK, Iceland, and now is serving in Ireland. He has also served as the national president of the Ahmadaiyya Muslim Youth Organisation in the UK, and has had the honour of representing the spiritual leader of the worldwide Ahmadiyya Muslim community in various countries like Israel, Bosnia, Holland, Greece, Finland, and the list goes on. So I'd like you all to welcome our keynote speaker, Imam Ibrahim Noonan.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. I respected Dr. Anwar Malik Saab, National President of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Association Ireland, respected Eamon O'Cribb, Member of Government, RT Local TD, and in particular I would like to extend my great gratitude to Bishop Brennan for sharing some words with us this evening, and we are actually quite delighted that he actually came to our humble event. Also, I would like to extend my gratitude to all of you, everyone here, all our guests, because actually without you, this program, this event, would be meaningless. It is for this very reason that we hold such events in hope to at least become closer as a community to other communities and also to the Irish community at large. As you already have heard, that the title of this Peace Symposium is Building Bridges for Peace and Integration. And the reality is that at this moment in time, in current time, the issue of integration is something which has been discussed heavily throughout Europe and also in Ireland. There is quite a lot of heated discussion going on between the various political divides, the various right-wing organizations, left-wing organizations, and in any possible organization that might be there, there is a flood of discussion going on. All you have to do is go onto social media, onto Twitter, onto Facebook. You will see people giving their personal opinions in regards to the issue of integration. And in fact, there are many who are complaining. There are people who are suggesting that this migration, this flood of migration into Europe and into Ireland should stop. There are many who are saying that it is incompatible with Irish society. And when I use the word "it is incompatible," really what they're referring to is the mass migration of Muslims, men, women and children, who are flooding into mainland Europe and who are also, to a degree, coming into Ireland. And this is one of the reasons why this subject is of something of great importance. Because there is an understanding or a belief by many Irish people. When I talk about Irish, I'm talking about the indigenous Irish of the island of Ireland, where they are questioning that does diversity work, is it compatible with Irish society, and we don't want our society changed. So it is indeed a very important subject. Yet I remember the Ireland of 20 years ago, or more than 20 years ago now, maybe 28 years ago or more. I remember the Ireland who welcomed migration, who welcomed diversity, who welcomed people of all races and all colours, who welcomed even people of all faiths, who believed it was something which was great. It was great to experience the traditions of others. It was great to experience the food of others. It was great to experience and try to learn the languages of others. It was even great to have dialogue with the various faiths that were coming into Ireland. Because Ireland 28 years ago would have been, to most of a degree, predominantly Catholic faith, even though the smaller Christian communities, like the evangelist communities and other communities like the Jehovah's Witnesses, etc., when they were growing and expanding in Ireland, even that was eventually being welcomed by the greater part of the Irish people. The problem that we are now facing is suddenly in the last 5 years, where this war which has happened in the Middle East, in Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria, where now tens of thousands, millions or hundreds of thousands are fleeing and leaving Syria to try and come to a place of safety, where women and children have been murdered and slaughtered. People of all faiths, not just the Islamic faith, not just the Christian faith, even the ancient traditions in ancient Syria or Syria itself are being affected. And such organizations of like the United Nations, in my opinion, who I have great respect for, but I believe they are failing in this matter of keeping these people and these communities safe. Alongside that has come the ugly head of extremism within the Islamic world. ISIS and Al-Qaeda and Boko Haram. They're there. We also as Muslim community recognize they're there. We also fear them as much as anyone else fears them. We're also full of anxiety that such people should not be allowed into countries in Europe, in the United Kingdom, or indeed Ireland, where they can create havoc and chaos. This is something which is extremely important that you, our friends here, our Irish friends and friends from other countries and other religions and other faiths, is something that you really should know. And that is, out of the 1.8 billion Muslims, most of them, with a fragment of maybe a few thousand or maybe 10,000, we really don't know the number of extremists. But we do know that the majority of the 1.8 billion are Muslim men and women who want to live in peace and coexistence with their fellow human beings. So this peace program, as the heading mentions about building peace for integration, is extremely important for us as a Muslim community, something Eamon has touched upon, about the work that we are doing, the efforts that we are making to spread the message of peace. It is also more than that now. It is we're trying to, unfortunately, I use the word unfortunately because it's an effort now. It's a tidal wave that we face after every tidal wave that comes. When something goes wrong in Europe, something goes wrong in Britain, and God forbid something should go wrong in Ireland, where perhaps extremists would create havoc and an act of terrorism. So what I would really want to do now, because the subject matter is integration, I want to share with you what is and what does Islam actually teach. Because this is something I have noticed over the years. Anywhere I've gone around the world, any places I've had the honor of lecturing and talking, I spoke on extremism last year in Malta, in the university, in other countries. And the one thing that I've come to realize, and that many people in Europe, and indeed many people in Ireland, really, really are not fully aware of what Islam actually teaches. They follow the media. They seem to believe in what the news is telling them. And as you know, the media outlets and the radio stations and the national newspapers, they all paint a very negative picture of Islam. So most of the people in Europe tend to believe in what the media tells them. Yet unfortunately, most of what the media tells them is not 100% correct. I myself go on the streets. I've been on the streets the last 15 years in Ireland, in Galway, in Dublin, in Limerick, in Cork, and all over the country, offering myself on the streets with my colleague, Imam Mizr Habib Sahib, and also my fellow brothers who go down the streets. And the many things that I'm told is that we are afraid of you. We believe that you are terrorists. We believe that you want to implement Sharia in Ireland, and they don't want that. But yet, most of them, when I ask them, do you even know what Sharia means? Most of them will tell me, actually, they think it believes the meaning is cutting off hands, cutting off heads, impressing women, and all sorts of things. And none of this applies to the word Sharia. So I would like to introduce to you some quotes of the Quran and some sayings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and also some of the words of our beloved Imam, His Holiness, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih al-Khamis. May Allah be his helper. So, His Holiness once mentioned and once quoted in a piece of Holy himself. He said, I would like to firstly inform you that the Holy Prophet himself taught that love for one's nation is a part of one's faith. Thus, sincere patriotism is a requirement in Islam to truly love God, and Islam requires a person to love his nation. And this is something which Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught. That wherever you go in the world, whatever a Muslim settles in any country that he settles in, she or he or the communities must be loyal to the country that they live in. They must act upon the laws of the land that they decide to settle in. They must try to help that country. to help build that country, whether that's becoming a teacher and educating people, a doctor and helping people, whether that's serving in the armed forces, protecting people, or whether that is becoming a businessman which you are contributing to the economy. All of this, it means and is part of being loyal to your country. Yes, we are Muslims. Yes, we will follow the Islam and we want to practice that Islam that we understand. But that Islam does not mean wanting to kill and massacre other human beings. We also have a youth organization which you have been informed about. And you may be surprised to know that being a member of that youth organization, I'm specifically mentioning the male youth organization, but the same goes for the female organization and the elders organization. There is a pledge that we pledge each time we meet, and that is that we solemnly pledge to sacrifice our life, wealth, and time for the sake of our faith and nation. So that means every young Muslim man belonging to our community, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, pledges to give time and wealth and their life for the sake of that nation. So why am I mentioning this? Because this should remove the misunderstanding or should remove the belief by many in this country that Muslims are not loyal to the country, that Muslims want to harm the country, that Muslims want to create chaos. This is not the case. And that's the first step, as Eamon rightly pointed out in his address regarding what happened in the peace process between Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland and republicanism and etc. You have to come to those who know about their faith. You have to come and sit with them and have dialogue with them and discuss with them. That is called integration. That is called building bridges. That is where you find out whether you are right or whether you are wrong in your understanding of Islam. Alongside this, I would like to share with you a saying of again another saying of actually Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says that be upright, to be means to be upright, to be decent, and by the word of righteousness, to be decent, to have integrity, to be moral, to act upon justice, and to have honor and piety. This is another quality of Islam in which all men and women should follow. So a Muslim man or woman is meant to inculcate all these qualities within them. Now, if you look at these qualities of being upright, of being decent, of having integrity, of being moral, or acting upon justice, or acting upon piety, none of these things leads to terrorism. None of these things creates a young Muslim to go away and become a suicide bomber. None of these things causes a Muslim to want to go to Iraq and fight and kill other human beings. These are the fundamental teachings of Islam. So that way I want to also introduce to you a verse of the Holy Quran which inculcates these very things I have just mentioned. And it's from chapter 3, verse 105. And this verse or verses of the Holy Quran are so profound that there's no Muslim in the world, not a single Muslim in the world, he or she, young or old, if they understand these verses, they will never become a terrorist. They will never become a person who wants to kill another human being. So I will share these words with you now. And let there be among you a body of men who should invite to goodness and enjoin equity and forbid evil, and it is they who shall prosper. This is Almighty God in the Holy Quran telling Muslims that from among you there should always be a body of men who should invite to goodness and enjoin equity and forbid evil, and they shall prosper. So if you look at a person who inculcates these qualities, it means that we want to invite people to goodness and righteousness and morals and principles and ethics. We want to ensure that justice is done upon every human being, male, female, young or old. And we want to ensure that no act of evil should ever be done upon you, your families, your communities, our country. These are the teachings of Islam. Alongside that, as we follow the Quran as our first source of knowledge, the second is the Sunnah, or the Hadiths of the Holy Prophet, and this is what he said, peace be upon him. He from among you who observes something evil should reverse it with his hand. If he is unable to do that, he should condemn it with his tongue. If he is unable to do that, he should at least resent it in his heart, this being the lowest degree of faith. So this means that I, as a Muslim man, if I see an evil act, evil is a broad word. The smallest form of evil is bullying someone. Another form of evil is hurting the feelings of another human being. The greatest level of evil, unfortunately, and not unfortunately, but meaning unfortunately that such things should happen, is killing another human being. So Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has made it clear, being a Muslim, if I observe an evil act, I must prevent it. I must stop it. If I can't do that, at least I should raise my voice and I should condemn it and I should create a noise to make people aware about it. If I can't do that, then at least I should resent it in my heart and have nothing to do with it. Keep away from it. These are the type of qualities which Islam is teaching, or what teaches Muslims how they should live and practice their life. Also, another verse of the Holy Quran, there's many, but I'm selecting them. Many people would not know this, and perhaps most of you don't know this. And in fact, I know many who never even were aware of this. That actually the Holy Quran teaches us to protect synagogues, to protect churches, to protect monasteries, to protect any place of worship. And this is the verses of Quran. Those who have been driven out of their homes unjustly, only because they said our Lord is Allah, meaning our Lord is God, and if Allah had not repelled some by means of others, cloisters and churches and synagogues and mosques, wherein the name of Allah is often remembered, would surely have been destroyed. Now what this means, and there's a history behind this verse, what this actually means during a particular time in the early part of Islam, when the Muslims were very small and very insignificant, when the people of that time in Mecca, and unfortunately, certain groups, certain memberships of the Jewish faith, and even of the Christian faith, not all, a very fragment, decided to wage war on the infant Islam. So this verse is telling Muslims that if you don't fight, if you don't defend yourself, if you don't stand for the right of your existence, if you don't stand for the right of your belief in God, if you don't stand for the right in your belief in righteousness, then every church and in every synagogue and every monastery will be destroyed. What it means is that Christians, Jews, Hindus, Buddhists, whatever, have the right to their belief in their faith. And they have the right to establish it, just as Muslims also have that right. So as a Muslim, I must protect my Christian brother and sister. I must protect my Jewish brother and sister, or a Hindu or Buddhist. Even if you are an atheist, it is my job to protect you. This is the meaning which we get from this verse. So, I've had this opportunity, I want to share this with you, that once when I was living in London, because sometimes Almighty God puts something in your way to see that have you understood what He's been teaching you. And I saw a Jewish man, he was praying in a busy shopping market. He was praying against a wall, offering his prayers. And unfortunately, there were some Muslims who were abusing him, were shouting on him, were teasing him, were insulting him. So I stood in the middle of them. I stood between him and them. When they started to abuse me and asking me that, what are you doing? This person is a Yehud, he is a Jew, you're a Muslim, what are you doing? I reminded them of this verse of the Quran. I told them it is my duty to protect him. It is my duty to ensure that he has the right to worship. Because this is the teaching of Islam. And this is what I mean by Islam teaches these things. I would like to end with the words of our beloved Imam Hadrat Khalifatul Masih al-Khamis, which I think is better than my words. He says, the only way to ensure peace is for the world to adopt the ways of humility and justice, and to humbly, submissively turn to God, for man to become humane, for the strong to treat the weak with dignity, respect, and justice. These, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, is the only way you will maintain peace, and it is the only way you will build bridges to integrate into society. I want to see one day, this is my passion, it's my desire, and in fact, it's only my desire and passion, yes, of course, because I'm a Muslim, but mostly because our beloved Imam has been teaching us this over the last 15 years. It is our desire that you, our guests, who are maybe not Muslims, that you should be able to walk past a mosque and feel comfortable and not feeling even a tinge of anxiety. You should be able to pass our mosque, or any mosque for that matter, and know that that mosque and people within that mosque have no intention of harming you, have no intention of creating chaos. We are loyal to the country that we live in. I want that the next time you walk down the street, that you will see a Muslim woman wearing a hijab, and you don't look upon her as a terrorist. You don't look upon her as someone who's being oppressed. Rather, you should be looking upon her as someone who's practicing her faith. I want that, a desire that whenever you see a Muslim man like me, with a long beard, unless you're a 4-year-old that thinks I'm Santa Claus, but that I'm not a terrorist. I'm a simple human being, a Muslim, who believes in peace. And being Irish, my passion is that Islam should be accepted in Ireland as another members of the Irish community, and that we have something to add to it and give to it and help it grow in the future. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace and blessing of Allah upon you all. I want to thank you all for sparing your valuable time this evening. I also want to thank the organizer, Dr. Mohammed Rashid and his team. I don't live in Galway, so we came all over from Dublin. So I want to thank them as well for organizing such a good event. It was, I was hearing news from Dr. Mamoon that people are busy because this is Mother's Day as well. So a lot of invitations were sent. And at one stage, when he was telling me about the progress that a lot of guests may not be able to come, we were thinking about canceling the event as well. But this is a very special thanks for you that you all made the effort to come. The message of my beloved Imam, which you have seen in the small video, that he has said that if you're rich, serve the poor, but do not treat them with pride and disdain. If you wish God to be pleased with you, then be like two brothers born of one mother. So with this, we'll conclude this event, and dinner will be served soon. We usually conclude, traditionally we conclude our events with silent prayers. So when I'll sit down, I'll ask Imam Ibrahim Noonan to lead us.